Wonderful. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the New Westminster Chamber of Commerce Business Webinar Series, Social Media and Marketing today. We have a very special guest who has arrived. He's in the house. David Keighron is from Douglas College. We're just going to allow just a minute or two for others to join. Today, Dave is going to be doing a lovely presentation for us. We'll make sure that we allow some ample time at the end for Q&A. So please make sure you either write down in your trusty little notepad if you're a Gen Xer or above, like I am, or put in your mobile notes, or you can even type in the chat during the presentation, but just be aware that we will have Q&A at the end of the presentation. So it looks like we've got a good representation so far. Let's see here. So in the interest of everyone joining on time, I might actually open us up and thank you all for coming here today. We'll start with a land acknowledgement. We recognise and respect that New Westminster is on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Halkomelem-speaking peoples. We acknowledge that colonialism has made invisible their histories and connections to the land. As a community, we are learning and building relationships with the people whose land we are on. Our speaker today, David Keighron, is the Faculty in Commerce and Business Administration at Douglas College, our very own fabulous Douglas College. We appreciate Dave being here today to share his wisdom and his expertise with our local business community. Dave Keighron is a marketing educator, practitioner, and podcast host with a focus on helping businesses and students bridge the gap between strategy and execution. He is a professor of marketing at Douglas College and University Canada West, where he specialises in social media marketing, digital strategy, analytics, entrepreneurship, and AI-powered marketing applications. With over 15 years of industry and teaching experience, Dave works closely with small businesses, startups, and community organizations to design practical, results-driven marketing strategies. His approach emphasizes clarity, authenticity, and sustainable growth, helping organizations to choose the right platforms, develop a consistent brand voice, and engage meaningfully with their audiences. Dave is also the host and creator of several business and education-focused podcasts, including Innovation Fuel and Marketing Corner Talks, which spotlight real-world business challenges and teaching innovations. More recently, his work has expanded into AI and marketing, exploring how tools like generative AI and automation can support smarter decision-making without losing the human side of branding. Dave is passionate about experiential learning, community partnerships, and empowering small business owners with practical tools they can apply immediately. A bonus today for attendees, for participants who are eager to take their social media marketing to the next level. Dave teaches a social media marketing course through continuing studies and is generously able to offer an incentive for the course as well as follow-up opportunities for interested attendees. So I'll let Dave speak to that option at the end of his presentation. I'd just like to recognise the other board members and staff of the Chamber that are here today. I'd also like to thank the City of New West for supporting these business webinar series. We have Andrea representing the city today, so thank you very much for the support. And with that, Dave, I may hand the floor to you.
Wow. I don't know where to start from. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Welcome to all of you. Give me a few moments. I'm going to throw up my screen here and throw up a little bit of a PowerPoint element to keep us in line and keep us on topic, because I know I only have 60 minutes with you wonderful people. So I want to make sure that optimize that 60 minutes to get the most value out to you. And so let me just pop that up right now. Let's see if we can get that going. Is that going to come? Oh, there we go.
There we
Now,
are.
the unfortunate part is I think when I do this, I might not be able to see you guys. So I'm going to put this in screen mode. Oh, maybe I do. We'll see. Can everybody see the screen? Can they, like, Heidi, can they see the screen? There's no blockage or anything in it? No. Okay, so phenomenal. So, yes, welcome to Masters of Social Media Fundamentals. Thank you, Heidi, for that wonderful introduction. Yes, I'm a professor of marketing and entrepreneurship at Douglas College, and I do sit on a lot of advisory boards around the globe, the Digital Marketing Institution and the UX Design Institution. I do some advising in this space. One of the areas that you heard in there is artificial intelligence, and I will, at the end, be asking some questions around that for future opportunities for anybody that wants to learn about AI and marketing. I've built a number of different programs around this element, and we're in, with the translution of marketing and changes around the things that are happening, we'll open up some of those things. So my goal today is the context of what I'm really trying to do here is it's really built to within the framework of small size businesses, entrepreneurs that are looking to enhance their social media. How do they get the most of the reaction, engagement, and reaction out of those social media platforms? But before we even get to that element, I'm trying to keep it kind of clear. I'm going to keep it kind of simple, but I really want to make it very applied. And when we talk about social media, a lot of people think, oh my God, I got to post like a whole lot of stuff. I'm like, no, not really. It's more about telling the right story, choosing the right platforms, and then building for those in a sustainable way that you guys can actually do it. Because you're mostly, I'm sure, and again, Heidi, we didn't really get to know where people were coming from, but I'm sure a lot of the businesses here are small size businesses. And one of the challenges is that you don't have the tools, you don't have the resources, you don't have the people or the time to be able to manage this. So I'm going to try and set this story up in a way that makes it manageable. Okay. And allow you to be more successful when using these tools and heading in that direction. So when I say that, I mean, I thought that this might be the context that most are coming from small businesses, you're entrepreneurs, home-based or self-employed. And so this is the kind of context we're going to start it off from this element. So when we think about this element of this, I want to try and see if we can, where I want to take us. Number one, platform selection. You don't need to be everywhere. And I think that is a sort of an element that's out there. Oh, I got to be on TikTok. Oh, I got to be on. I've got to be on Facebook. Oh, I've got to be on LinkedIn. And the idea is that you want to choose the right channels, and the right channels are going to be the ones that are going to help you reach your business goals and interact with the right audience. And there's a way to do this, and we're going to talk about that today. Brand voice. Talking in the brand voice is that because there's so much content out there, you got to be meaningful, you got to be purposeful, and you got to create value for people. Because how do they find you in a web of so much content? And now with AI on top of that, we're getting more and more content that's been thrown in there. But we got to have purposeful and meaningful content that's out there. It's engaging in the audience that we want to engage with. We're going to talk about brand voice, which then leads us into engagement. How do we handle the feedback? How do we actually manage this? And which then also then we'll talk about how do we sustain this within our time frame of what we're trying to achieve in our day-to-day activities. So I'm going to try and give you some suggestions around this element. And as Heidi said, we'll open up to Q&A at the end. So if there's any questions that are lingering, we'll definitely open up to around those things. And I will introduce some other things that if you want more knowledge around this element, I'm going to give you some ideas of what Douglas College and continuing studies can offer you. And as well, maybe even some students can help you with your social media. So we can talk about some of those things as we move forward. So just bear with me here. There we go. Okay, but one of the things that we have to talk about before we get anywhere is people don't follow businesses. They just don't follow businesses. What they follow the stories that help them solve the real problems they're facing, the jobs that they need to get done, and the problems that they're solving in helping to solve those problems. They're also looking for things to improve their lives, and they want to feel understood. They want to feel connected to something. And this is where community comes into play. How do we build the right community around us in order to support us? Now, I want to bring in a story. I don't know if anybody here has ever seen this before. This is a really interesting business model that had quite some success. And the name of the company is Peace by Chocolates. It's a product that's actually based out of Nova Scotia. And its true story is what made it a success. And what its true story is, and there's actually a movie coming out on this, so happy to connect you to this element. But Peace by Chocolate started in 2016, and it started with a family of refugees. They came from Syria, they relocated to Canada, they had to start all over again. They're in Nova Scotia, cold weather, freezing, whole new world that they had to do. But their past business back in Syria was in chocolate. And so they realized something. They realized, hey, we need to get back into the chocolate business. That's where, but we want to share something about our story. We want to share the resilience of how we went through this journey. The family, how the family supported us, how the community supported us, and the purpose and meaning of the summit. So it became more about than chocolate. It became more about how do we inspire other refugees to take the same steps we took to success. And that story then resonated with individuals and they started to build trust. And when you build trust, what comes naturally after trust is people now want to buy the products and support that vision of that element. So when we come to these elements of storytelling, what is in customers' mindsets? What are they thinking as they're going on the journey? And each one of you, as you're thinking about your business models, what is the customer mindset that your customers coming to you from? Are they coming to you to help them solve a problem, to find practical solutions to something? Are they coming to you to learn something, to gain some knowledge and expertise? Are they coming to you to look for ideas, inspiration, and possibilities? But most importantly, are they able to build trust with you? Are they able to feel confident in the ability that you're able to give them the support they need to be successful? And again, when it comes, and as I said before earlier on, is that a lot of individuals out there now are coming out into this ecosystem of all this content. How do they find the right and meaningful content that actually it helps them get the jobs that they need to get done? And most people, when they're coming to online platforms, they're coming in a variety of different ways. They're really purposely, their intent to do something, whether that is entertainment, or whether it is going to Google to do a search, or whether it is going to social media to look up and see what's happening in their community around them. So when we think about the jobs that they're trying to get done, we nearly need to think about like what's going to help them complete that specific job or tasks. What's going to guide them to wanting to help them with guidance and practical solutions to help them figure that out. What struggles are they facing as they're coming in here? So when we think, and I want you to take a moment here, guys, to think about this, and I'll give you an example. So say an example, I was a fitness coach. When I'm going to put my customers, I'm going to start thinking about my customers. If I'm a fitness coach, what would my customers might need in trying to get their job done? Well, one of the things I would think in trying my customers trying to get this job done would be to stay consistent. So they want to stay consistent in staying healthy and staying consistent. Their struggle might be motivation. It might be that motivation to go and actually do that workout. And what they might want help with is this element of a simple plan that helps them in solving that problem. So what I want you to be thinking about here is with your business, think about your customer. What are they trying to do? What are they struggling with? And what do you think you can help them with? Thinking about this element helps you to start reframing because you can't solve everybody's problem, but you want to solve the ones that are most important to you and your business because there is this element in the spaces that if we can connect with the right individuals who have the really desire our solution to solving their problem, we're going to build better relationships with individuals, which will then change in the community and grow in that community and expand because word of mouth is the best thing. Word of mouth, we talk about WOM and word of mouth, is we can engage with those one or two individuals that really benefit from what we can solve and solve their problems with. We can then use that as fuel to open up a word of mouth and moving forward. So when we think about, so once we've identified some of these things, one of the things we need to think about is how we're going to want to tell this story. We have to determine, and before we even choose platforms, we have to figure out what that story looks like. How does that story look like? As I said to you at the very beginning, we don't want to go out and start telling stories on multiple different platforms. We need to be really purposeful. We need to think about our customers. We need to put ourselves in our customers' shoes and think about how would they want to get this information? Where would they go looking for it? And then that helps us to really understand which platform and then which content and which elements would help us to meet them in that space. When it comes to, like, for an example, I should just give you an example here. So an example, when we think about education, one of the great places to get education, there's two places actually. YouTube is a great place to get education, but also LinkedIn is a great place to get education, but two different frames. If we are B2B market and we're a B2B business, most likely business to business, people that are professional are going to go trust LinkedIn for that education. But if you're not a B2B or B2C, maybe LinkedIn is not the place you want to be, but maybe YouTube is a better place for you to be able to interact with those customers and those elements. And the same comes like for community building. Facebook has always been a great place for community building. It doesn't work for everybody, but if you're really trying to hit that local voice, it's a really good place to build that community and share customer stories. So what I want to do next, guys, is I want to just introduce you to some of the core elements, the core platforms that are out there, and just kind of talk through some of these things just to give you an idea. So when we think about Facebook, and Facebook is typically, it's really good for local business and community building. And it's usually the standard social media platform that most of us have at least a page that's there. But it's really effective for really local businesses that are really connecting with the community. So an example, if you're a small coffee shop in New Westminster, it's a great way to share your story. Talk about the community engagement that you're doing within. Talk about customers that are coming into your store and their stories. That will help. And that helps engagement because all of a sudden those people know each other. And you're really trying to, in this coffee shop, you're really trying to build that local community. And Facebook is a great tool for doing that. How do we be most successful with Facebook? We're probably looking at 2 to 4 posts per week. The big thing is asking lots of questions drives the interaction. Okay. And we're going to talk about this as we go apart, but it's about highlighting people, not products. And we're going to talk about this in a minute because there is this element of when do I promote and when do I educate or inspire or those elements? And we're going to talk about that in a minute here. But when it comes to this type of platform, more people are going to engage when they hear other people's stories. They want to connect with those kind of stories. Okay. One thing that definitely for sure is a great place for really sharing reviews on those customer stories. This is a great place to be for doing that element. And we'll talk about more about responding quickly and some of those things later. Instagram. Now, Instagram and TikTok, we're going to talk about two different platforms. Instagram and TikTok, we are very video-based elements, gets the most amount of engagement. Yes, pictures in this element, but we're seeing more and more video, kind of short video format that happens here. We see a lot of influencers that are in these spaces that can drive your brand in these spaces. So these secondary pieces that we can talk a little bit more about the influencers, but influencers are people that you can hire to make content for you and post it, and in exchange they're going to drive maybe some new leads back to you. But when we think about Instagram is very based on product, big time product. So we're definitely showcasing product. We're showcasing lifestyle. Where personal brands work really well in Instagram, and of course, all visual. So when you look at, say, an example like a local company like Lululemon is really focused on community building in here and really trying to push on what their ambassadors are doing, their yoga ambassadors are doing. They're not pushing product. They're not pushing product at all. They might have product on. They might have different things in the background, but it's really about that engagement of those. So the things that work really well on Instagram, of course, Reels. There's a series of different things. For an example, a really good example of Reels is that some businesses might do a behind the scenes of making, say, an example, go back to our chocolate company. They might do a behind the scenes of doing a series of Reels about how the chocolate's made. It's engaging. It's not about the chocolate. It's about the people that are engaging in making the chocolate and seeing that story sort of come to life. One of the really things about TikTok and Instagram is that we're talking about authentic. We're not talking about perfection. They do not like people are not, they want transparency. They want to see the real thing. So this is even simple as you guys picking up your phone. And by the phones today, high quality, easy to shoot video, but you can easily shoot content and use that for purposing onto whatever platform that works best for you, Instagram or TikTok. But again, they want to see that authenticness. They don't want to see this polished element. They want to see it quick elements that really tell the story. But again, coming back to the stories, when we talked earlier on about stories, it's that continuation of that story. How do you continue to tell the story through your content and using those quick images of, hey, maybe go back to that coffee shop. Maybe there's a story in that coffee shop. You quickly grab, like something happened with a particular coffee. Maybe their new customer asked for a unique style of coffee, and you take a picture of it, or you do a video with that customer, and you bring that back into your Instagram. Again, people are like, oh my God, that's amazing. How do I get that? I want to come and experience that. And so it creates that element of wanting to come and try. When we look at these, the other thing that's really important in Instagram is hashtags and using purposeful hashtags. Hashtags are like keywords, and you think about keywords, and we can talk more about that in the Q&A. But keywords are really keywords that are built around helping tell your story in a way that resonates. So we can actually take those hashtags like keywords and be able to track them and see what kind of interaction we're getting out of them. If we focus on 3 to 5 core hashtags or 3 to 5 keywords around those spaces, we can actually be able to start to track what's getting success and what's not getting success. Um, so, and again, consistency is always important here. Yeah. When it comes to LinkedIn, again, most of us know is B2B is mostly where most the interaction is. It's professional to professional. We see a lot of consultants in here, coaches, experts, and LinkedIn is underserved. It actually produces a lot. It actually produces a lot of interaction. It has a lot of success, but it's underserved. Not enough people are using it in the right way to able to really create purposeful content in order to engage and create value for your audience. An example, RBC uses it to do a lot of thought leadership things in order to build trust with that brand. But there's a variety of different ways you can use LinkedIn, and it's really it should be a teaching platform first and foremost, and it's not about selling. It's about teaching and educating, bringing ideas. Again, we always are looking to how do we bring value into this relationship? What can I provide to this community in return, some value to this community in return that might come back and support the value, the offering that we might be able to offer them. So again, in this element, very similar to when we get into video content and I'll talk about this in TikTok more purposely, is that we really want at the very beginning of all our content, we want strong hooks that really create that value. Why do I want to read this? Why do I want to engage in this? Now, with LinkedIn, we see that there's more video content that's now coming into LinkedIn, which is definitely an opportunity. Anybody that's in this space, video content is becoming very successful in LinkedIn. It used to be that LinkedIn was more long format content, like lots of content. It was interesting. More people engaged with long format content than short content in LinkedIn, maybe because they trusted it more. But we're now seeing video content getting a lot of traction in LinkedIn. So if you're doing video content, it's a great place. But again, remember, teach, have a strong hook at the beginning. Look at how do I create value? What am I doing in creating value in this post? Why am I doing this post? What's the meaning of this post? What insight am I trying to share in order to get customers engaged with it? Talk more about that in a minute here. So when it comes to TikTok, my daughter's on TikTok. Every young person is on TikTok, where they do a lot of different things around this. And if you haven't experienced TikTok, TikTok is a very unique platform, but very heavily towards influencers. A lot of small businesses have had a lot of success with TikTok, with what we call micro influencers. Now, you have big influencers like nano influencers, big ones like the celebrities. It's hard to get really large engagement and it doesn't really work for a lot of businesses. But for small businesses like this, like most of you are, finding micro influencers in there can make a big difference because usually when I talk about micro influencers, they're about 5 to 10,000 followers, but they're really good good content, and it's really engaging and usually results in a lot of follow-up sales from those elements because of how engaged this audience is within this influencer. So when we look at TikTok, and I said awareness here with TikTok, but most all social media is great for awareness campaigns. And when I talk about awareness campaigns, is how do you get your name out there? How do you get it established? Social media is a great place to start that journey about connecting you to an audience about, hey, I'm here. I can solve your problem if we tell the right story and getting that across. But TikTok has a very strong awareness piece to it. A lot of people hit TikTok and they're looking for usually education, usually entertainment pieces. You see A&W use it for humor and real people. They really try to play on the real people. They kind of go around these interviews and try to play on the humor side of things. But what's really important about TikTok is that TikTok is really about if you don't get that first hook, if you don't get that first thing, they're going to swipe. They're going to keep going. So you have to be able to grab them. You have to get something that really is going to grab their attention real quickly so they stayed engaged in it. Again, as Instagram, it has to be authentic, not polished. Authentic. It needs to be people, you could even go into the world of TikTok where they do all these dances and you could play on those themes. But again, if it doesn't create value for your customer, think about what that element is. If the dance element and the story that you're trying to tell does do that element, then of course move in that direction. But again, it is again same idea as teaching something here, and it's got to be really careful with the trends. That's what leads into the next thing is that does the trends does the trend that is going right now and does it align with your brand and your brand values? If it doesn't align with your brand values, people see through that element. So you want to be really purposeful and meaningful. And one of the things we talk about when I talk about marketing content with my students is I talk about two types of content. There's evergreen content and there's topical content. Evergreen content is you telling your story all the time. That's your brand. That's your brand messaging. That's your story. Topical content is, oh my God, we saw the Olympics. Let's say the women just beat the United States, hopefully. We'll just keep our fingers crossed. The women have beat the United States in Olympic hockey. Woo, no, let's wait to see. But maybe if you're a hockey brand, you could actually bring that into a topical story. Hey, that's like, hey, look what's happening. It's a story that you can connect with that resonates with your customers. But you can't if you're one brand and you're talking about your B2B, and then all of a sudden you're talking about hockey and it has no relevance to your story. That's when there's a disconnect in the customer. So you want to make sure that you're not throwing content in there. You want to throw value content in there. So make sure that you're engaging your audience with information. Your audience has very limited time, like you. We want to make sure that's purposeful and meaningful in there. And when we talk about CTAs, they're call to actions. And in the content, there's always a call to action, whether I want to follow, whether I want to save, or whether I want to learn more here. Any kind of call to action, make sure the CTA is clear on what you want them to do with the information. YouTube, again, great for, again, education, tutorials. Okay, really great for talking about FAQs, talking about maybe how to put like the instructions for how you put a product together or how you might interact with the product or how to use the product. Is great opportunity for there. Again, it's about answering real customer questions, but really be careful around how you make it searchable. A lot of things like how to is what a lot of people go into YouTube. Hey, how do I do this? So think about really purposeful, meaningful things around that element. Consistency, of course, matters here. And again, so Pinterest is another type of platform that is very interesting. Now, this is typically Pinterest is a long process, a long-term content process. But if you're, say, for an example, in say home decor, or you're doing something along the ways, you can actually, with the images, you can put your products in the background of different pictures and images, which then can be pinned, and then people can interact with them. And so there is a lot of times when people using Pinterest, and majority of women use Pinterest, and they're using it for ideas. And so if you can create ideas, you can pin some of your products or ideas up there as, say, for an example, oh, this lamp would work perfectly in this in this image or this area. So just trying to give some ideas around that. So it's a kind of a it's an inspirational content. It's more to give more help and guidance. So if you can position yourself there, it's very what we call keyword re rich descriptions that really help users find what they're looking for within those spatials. But again, they can come on, they can see images, they can see products in the background, yeah, and it's very image focused. Um, the other thing that's definitely more we're seeing, and even when we talk about social media, we're seeing more customers in social media use social media as a customer service platform. So they're not going, say, for an example, uh, to email as much. They're looking towards how can I interact with customers on a different platform. Some actually, and now some businesses are starting to use messengers and WhatsApp to be able to do this element to help create that instant communication. But social media is also a place where people will come and maybe they might comment on a product or they might have a complaint, and you need to be able to be there to respond to it. In when we think about these messenger elements, really important is again tone of your brand. Make sure the tone of your brand, the voice that you're trying to instill in your brand comes across friendly tone. You respond quickly, and you're doing things around direct communication. So when it comes to brand voice, I'm just keeping an eye on time because I want to get to some Q&A for you guys so you can actually ask some things. But one of the things is that, and I said is brand voice, because there is so much out there, how do we stand out there? How do we create unique value proposition? How do we stand out in our with our audience? We can't solve everybody's problems. What we have to do is narrow and focus and try and find the individuals that we can really solve. Because once we find those early individuals, they're going to create our initial community and they're going to help spread the word for us. And so we want to make sure that when we talk about our voice, we want to make sure our values and our personality comes across. We almost need to think of our social media outlets as our voice, as we need to think it is a person in itself. And then how is it interacting with those customers? What language are customers expecting from it? What is the expectations of those customers? And then what problem are you solving? What's that unique value proposition? And this will come into the other part of that we'll talk about in a minute is that we're going to talk about content pillars really quickly in a minute here, but really you only want to communicate the value that you need to communicate. You don't need to communicate everything. You need to narrow and focus around, hey, a customer has a job to get done. And I already know there's competitors out there doing this out there, but this is my uniqueness. And I need to become an authority in this uniqueness. And so I want to start really talking about that uniqueness in order to build. Because when it comes to organic content and this organic content, it takes time to build. It takes on average about 6 months to really build organic content. Now, you can use paid media in between to help drive that messaging, but it's really about that. But when we get into this element is that we want to build consistency, because consistency, if we have consistency across all our platforms, our websites, and every other our applications, we build trust. Because if it's inconsistent, if I go, for an example, your social media post, and I go to your website and it's different coloring, it's different voice, it's different element, all of a sudden my spidey senses are going off. I'm like, oh, I don't really trust this element. So we want to make sure that whatever you post on social media has the same brand voice, same coloring, same images that can transcend over to your website. So there's a smooth transition where people are not going to question all of a sudden, oh, this is different. We want to make sure that it's consistent voice all across. And we think about brand too, is that because you want to be and more people with the human elements is how do you create the voice? What voice do you want to create? Are you professional? Or are you casual? Are you serious? Or are you playful? Are you formal? Are you friendly? It all depends on your brand and the brand that you're trying. If you're a B2B element, you might not be casual. You might need to be more expert and approachable versus some of the other pieces in here. But again, knowing that brand voice and that element and the consistency of that brand image will help you get resonate with customers. Now, when we think about content and when we're building content for social, we got to think about what content works. As I said before, customers are coming for different reasons. They're not coming to buy things necessarily. Yes, there is times when they go on searching for different things, but we should be always thinking about what are they trying to accomplish. And most of the time, customers are trying to accomplish, they're trying to get a question answered. They're trying to solve a problem. They're trying to reduce fear. Anxiety is a big one. You probably get people coming to you at 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning that have anxiety around some problem and challenge, and they're looking for information to solve that because they can't sleep. That's when there's opportunities, and that's when you can build confidence and trust in people, provide clarity for people, showing them the direction, giving them guidance, and then inspiring them to move. And when we talk about marketing, and I use marketing talk really quickly here, is that we talk about marketing at a very early stage of marketing. We talk about awareness. How do I get people to recognize who I am? The next piece of that is how do I take that awareness into interest for them to want to consider me as an option to solve that problem? And then when they get into that interest and consideration, they're going to be looking at you and they're going to look at their competitors. They're going to look at the alternative ways to get this job done. How can I get this job done? Who is that? And how do we meet them with the right content at that time? Like, how do we help them? Like, hey, we already created awareness. We showed them that we can solve their problem. But now, how do we make sure that they have confidence in us? How do we take away the fear? So, in the consideration stage, we might go and say, hey, 9 out of 10 people, or look at all these reviews of what we do best compared not directly compared to the competitor, but we can show them the way to success in order to help create that clarity and moving them to the next stage of making those decisions. So we go from that awareness to consideration to conversion. Once we get them to conversion, how do we build on that loyalty piece and build that relationship? One company that does this very well, if anybody's ever engaged with Sage, they do it very well. And they really build the purposeful, meaningful conflict because they're helpful. And what I mean by helpful is they look at people and they said, what problems are people facing? They're not looking at the product. They're not saying, the mint, whatever I think it was that the sage mint that you put on for headaches. They're not looking at that. They're looking at, okay, what condition? They're stressed. There are wellness issues. They have these issues that are here. And they're thinking, okay, what helpful content can I provide people to be able to understand this situation? I'm stressed right now. That by giving them more information to help them overcome stress and indirectly bring in towards a product that'll help them, will help build that trust and then help them move into, hey, that peppermint solution is a great solution for solving that headache and reducing the stress. So again, they tell the story in a way that really resonates with customers, helps them understand the problem they're facing. Maybe they don't even understand. Maybe the customer says, I have this condition, I don't know how to deal with it. But with the helpful content, it helps them identify, oh, yes, that makes sense. Now they're starting to build that trust with them. And then, hey, here's some things that might help support and solve that, which leads to the conversion. And if they do everything well, the customer's going to come back and it's going to build that relationship with them in the long term. But when we're thinking about small businesses, one of the things, and even any business, is that we don't want to just do random posting. It does not work. You need to have a plan. You need to have a strategy. You need to understand what you want the outcomes to be. One of the things I push on my students all the time is goal setting and key performance indicators. How do we set the playground? How do we look for sustainable growth? We can't take on everything, but we need to narrow and focus in order to help us achieve small growth, because small growth will lead to large growth. And when we do consistent and we measure that success and we say, hey, this is working, this is not, if it's not working, hey, try something else. It's all part of the learning process. Nothing's going to. One of the key things to realize about social media, there's two theories that you might have hear out there. They call it the 3/3 or thirds, which is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, and then 80-20 rule. And really, it's the same thing. Help, educate, and inspire is what we're doing. And small 20% is selling. So what we want to do is develop relevant content that helps people, educates people, inspires people, entertains people, and builds the trust. If we build trust, guess what? The other piece will come naturally. And then we just position the promotion pieces to fall into place in order to help them build on that element and build that element of how do we continue asking for the next stage of how we can provide a service or an offering that can help them in the situation, the challenge, or the element that they're in. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 is the same thing. 2/3 is all about content building and creating value. 1/3 is about promotion and how do we use promotion. Now, one of the things I'm gonna this again, I go into a lot of big deep. This is really high level, guys, because I go really deep into this in content strategy. One of the things you should be always thinking about is I go back to the same to the early situation. I have a problem. There's a problem out there the customer has. This is my customer. I know this is my customer. What is the value I create for them? Now, how do I help them find me? Well, what I really want to do is I want to tap into that unique set of values and I want to be an authority in that element. So I want to be thinking about really core themes that I want to build off. And I only need 2 to 3 themes. Don't like 5, 6 themes doesn't make any sense. You want to be able to do 2 to 3 themes that you can build off. And when I say themes, these are overall core ideas that really support the brand and the brand values. And then we have what we call clusters. And what clusters are is we say, okay, this is our theme. These are our themes. We're going to build a cluster off this. So these are clusters of pieces of content. Could be video, could be podcast, could be like a social media post, could be these things that are built off that support the overall element, that brings them back into the theme element. And the theme, if you do the themes right, they lead to to showing them the solution, meaning the value proposition in your solution that is going to help them solve their problem. I know that's a little high level, but so it's just trying to say just what it really in short and simple words is only pick 2 to 3 themes that you want to focus around. Is it education? Is it customer problems? Is it behind the scenes? Is whatever that element is, focus. Because trying to do everything is going to get you nothing. So we want to narrow and focus into these spaces and help develop clusters. When we think about sustainable posting, and again, I'm taking this in context of small businesses, is that you don't always have the time and effort, but the best way to approach the sustainable process is, again, have repeatable themes. So again, focus on those repeatable themes. Spend 5 to 10 minutes daily on responding, talking, doing all the things you need to do, the 2 to 3 posts, these elements. And what we call batch creation. Batch creation is plan ahead. Have a plan. Say, here's my theme. Here's the different batches of this theme. And we're going to put these together and then we're going to plan. We only have 10 minutes a day to do this, to respond and to post. And so how do we build that consistency? How do we build that? Now there is tools out there, guys, and I've written down a couple of tools, but and I know tools can be really expensive, but I got free ones. There is some free ones out there that you can start with. And what I'm talking about is that is a place to how do I host this? Where do I keep this? How do I build all these batches and how do I keep it? And you can write these down, and I'm happy to share this later. But one particular one is Buffer. It's like so Buffer, like the local brand Hootsuite, it allows us to manage that content and manage the post. It also these tools now have artificial intelligence in them, and they're able to also you can actually uh, pick a selection. Remember I said the hashtags and keywords. You can actually have it monitor those hashtags and keywords so you're able to respond to them and manage those pieces. So buffers are really affordable one. Hootsuite does a free plan for the first little bit. Be careful you don't go over. Hootsuite can be quite expensive. There's Soho Social, there's Constant Contact, and there's Sprout Social. For my podcast that we do, we use Buffer, and it's great. It's affordable, it's cheap, it's reasonable, and it gets the job done. And again, it's just having somewhere where you can actually help you manage that element. With artificial intelligence nowadays, we can use these tools in a different way, and we can even use AI to help us with some of this content generation. But we always have to have a people element to it, a human element to it. Do not take it on face value. Just take the information and use it as a creative element to start that journey for you. But so when it comes to social media, again, one big thing is everything interaction is the opportunity to strengthen those relationships. The more interaction you can do, WestJet has proven this. I know maybe not recently, but WestJet has that relationship of really fast human responses builds that trust element. And so if we can build that trust element by doing those things on a constant basis, we can build solid relationships. And those relationships are going to lead to conversion. And again, come back to the 80-20 rule. Those 8 elements, more that relationship interaction, purposeful meaning interaction, just not just posting, but posting with purpose and meaning will lead those to building relationships. We think about engagement framework where, again, we want to respond quickly. Usually, typically, 24 hours is reasonable enough. More than 24 hours, you still probably could get away with it for a little bit, but try and respond as quickly as possible. Acknowledge, show you heard and understand people. It's just like we do, and when we speak with people, someone asks a question, we respond and asking, is this the right question? And just making sure that we're understanding what they're asking for. Uh, Always constantly add value. Don't be just posting information for posting information. Post information with purposeful meaning. Measure it. Measure the success of it. Is it getting the engagement that you thought it would get in order to get the outcome that you're looking to get? Ask questions continuing of everybody. This is a two-way street of asking questions that really helps build that relationship, understand your 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 audience, and be able to interact with them in a more meaningful, purposeful. You don't even need the information data. There's lots of data in these in the Meta suite of products where you can see how the interaction is going. We can leverage AI to help us do this element. We can take data from your platforms, put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, which is getting the most engagement? And it can help you do these things. So again, you do not need to do all the heavy lifting, but you need to look at the information and be able to plan effectively around what's working and what's not working. So you're not wasting good, hard-earned time and you're getting the results out of it. One of the things that when it comes to negative feedback, always acknowledge, validate your concern, put empathy into it, clarify, understand the situation fully, take action, resolve the issue, and offer a solution. Negative feedback can turn into a positive relationship and it can drive your business. So again, thinking about this, negative feedback is also a good thing sometimes, and it's good for us to grow off. One of the things I just want to be very purposeful. I know that we're coming down here, but I really want you to think about the 10-minute routine. This is perfect for you as you're building a small daily action plans. Think about 10 minutes a day, at least 10 minutes a day to get this going. Reply to comments, respond to messages, engage with your audience, and even ask one question that sparks conversation. And if you do that daily, you will have success. You will have success. It's not going to come overnight. It takes time to nurture. It takes time to build that trust, but you start to see more engagement with customers as they're coming in. Now, one of the things I want to point out to you guys, and again, I'll really quickly through this and we'll go to the Q&A. As Heidi said at the very beginning, I do teach a social media course. So if you want to go deeper into social media, you want to talk about strategy, content and systems, and all this element and build goals, and we'll do it while with your business as the business model. So you can work on your business as you're going through this course. I set it up like that. So anybody that needs more information around social media course. So this one, and again, if you're interested in this, as Heidi said, we will have some value added elements here, some savings here for you. There is other things we do. We do a digital strategy leadership course that's coming up too. If you want more on the digital, this is like bigger, like content and paid and all the SEO and even into a little bit of AI, artificial intelligence. The other thing I will leave you with this element, and I want you to future thinking, is that we're always interested in what you need out there and how we can support. And one of the things that I built in the institution for students, and we're thinking that maybe businesses might be interested, is an AI marketing course. Other things we're thinking about is advanced social media strategies, how we can work with your business to build those advanced social media strategies, maybe in one-on-one coaching, team training programs. These are kind of things we're thinking of. And what I'll do is I'll leave a QR code at the end. It's a survey that you can come in and just give me what you're looking for, and I can connect you to the right people around that element. But again, one other thing that really is important, if you are really struggling with time around this, we do have a great opportunity here. We have what we call in-service learning. So I have like an example. We have an advanced social media course where students go out and they work on a business's social media for the semester. You can hire interns through Douglas College, and they're no cost to you, but they'll come. A social media or marketing expert will come and work on your marketing for 10 to 12 hours a week for 15 weeks as an intern to get some practical experience in doing those elements. All these are in the QR code that I can set you up with. So again, just to know that these are opportunities. So if you want some additional support. So key takeaways today, guys, story first. Make sure that you take the story first. Then that aligns into the next thing. How do I take that story and how do I spread that? Meaning what platform best aligns for me to tell that story to my customers? Sustainability. Again, volume does not mean success. Again, repeatable approach. is more successful. And then engagement matters. Social media is all about relationships, not broadcasting. So think about purposeful, meaningful value content along the way. And again, thinking about dividing those customer jobs, choosing the right platforms, pick 3 content pillars, and start your 10-minute delivery routine today. So I hopefully Q&A time. Woo! I don't know if I was too fast or hopefully you got majority out of that, but
Wow, wow, wow. Dave, um, what talent and asset and expertise we have in our hood in Westminster. This is amazing. I'm so pleased that you've been able to share that wealth of information with us. It makes me want to take the course. Do you mind just sharing? Most people know, but Douglas College does offer continuing studies. So outside, do you want to just share a little bit of how that differs from the other?
yeah, for sure, Heidi. So yeah, Douglas College has what we call continuing studies. It's usually programs that are offered in the evening time, and the ones I teach are actually online. So they're evening online. So they usually start at 6 at night and they go to 9 at night, so that they're more applied. They're flexible with people and they're applied learning. It's not theory. It's applied learning. So, for an example, the social media course, as I said, you bring your business in, we use that as the framework and we teach you all these different elements around, like we just talked about social media, and then you execute it on your business. And so it's time well served. It's like, yeah, you're investing in you and you're investing in your ability to learn more about social media, but you actually take that back into your business. So it's really purposeful and meaningful. So you're not really wasting your time and a variety of those things. So that's really what continuing studies is all about, of really applied learning and helping you build up those skills in order to help you be more successful.
Fantastic, Dave. And then just one other quick area that I wanted to make note while we've still got people on the webinar before we go into Q&A. So the student to business community connections there you're talking about through your courses, you actually physically get people out into the business community and encourage their learning from the businesses, but also the businesses learning from their expertise. So that's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a huge and we've worked with a variety of different businesses. Like we've helped with tourism in Westminster, we've helped with Circus Vancouver Circus, we've helped with other businesses outside the community. But what's there is that hey, you've got students here that are they're learning advanced social media skills, and why not just apply to a business? So they work in teams to do this throughout the semester, working on these campaigns and things to execute for you. The other piece that's really interesting, a lot of people like this, hey, I might in the future want an intern, and an intern is where they can actually focus on your business. They come in, they help you build whatever you need to do, what you need to achieve. You want them to work on social media, you want them to work on a digital marketing plan with you. They're committed to you for 10 to 12 weeks. And they work with you for 15 weeks. And then you can say, hey, once that relationship's done, you can start another one with another intern, pick up from that element. And it's really good because it's applied learning for these individuals. It allows them to get out, to take all these skills and be able to apply them and able to help you. So there's value for both sides of it. And we've had a lot of success. We've even had students that gone through the internship program or those elements and continued on to work with these businesses and actually create value. They find return on value.
Dave, you may or may not be aware that Sophie, who's actually our member experience in office, a gal with the chamber, actually came through an internship following subsequent part-time, and now she's full-time with us. So, really amazing story of Douglas College right here. So, Dave, may I ask you just to close the presentation down? We'll just
Yep.
make sure
Yep.
everyone can, if they're welcome, if they'd like to, you're
Well,
welcome to put your video your screens on, and please feel free to ask some of these questions. I'm just
all right.
looking at
I'm just
a
gonna
couple of questions here from Jessica.
I just want to
Um,
quickly, maybe what I'll do is really quickly,
oh
is this
yes,
for anybody that
please
wants
do.
more information on what we talked about there, the internship or the in-class work or AI courses or or you want to take a social media course, quickly take that link. That's a form there. Go fill it out. It'll give me information. I can then pass that back to the right parties to help you get what the information you need. And then I can shut down my screen once everybody's got a picture of that if they want. So, and I can always share this presentation to Heidi. So, okay,
That would
here we
be
go.
really lovely. Thank you so much. So, I can see in that chat here, we've got a question from Jessica. How can I be part of the business support program? I do need help for my social media. I think Dave just answered that. Get onto the QR code. If you have any troubles connecting directly with Dave, please do come through the chamber at the info@uschamber.com email, and we'll gladly connect you with Dave and that program. Nikhil says it was truly some insightful learning today. Thank you so much. Dave, that's from Nicole. Are there any questions from the group? Anyone would like to unmute themselves and ask a question? You can just raise your hand. Here we go, Andrea.
Yes. Many years ago, by the way, I actually came through Douglas College, and that's how I ended up with the City of New Westminster. So another plug for the way it works really well. But my question is,
Community building community. I love it.
100%. With the rise of AI and social media, how do you balance that with the human connection piece?
So this is really important because AI is a tool, and it is like the internet was a tool, and everything else is a tool. So yes, AI is a great place if it's prompted in the right way, and there's a way to prompt it in an effective way to get the outcome and information you need. But everything needs to be vetted. Everything needs to be validated, and then it needs a human spin on it. Because one of the things I talked about is your tone, your voice. It's not speaking in your tone, your voice. It's using its own tone and voice. And if you just take that and go post it, people are going to get really confused because they're used to hearing a certain voice there. So it is a tool. It's a great tool and we shouldn't be afraid of it. We should be learning, and we should be learning how to prompt it. One of the ways that I teach students to prompt it is an acronym called RISN, and it's role, instructions, steps. You want to put it into, again, elements of you want to put a framework around what you're trying to get, like around narrowing the framework so it doesn't go, because AI is really programmed to give you the answer no matter what, and it will go get any answer. And the answer might not be 100% correct, and this is where it has hallucinations. So again, but it can be a tool to help you. And again, thinking about, like, an example, hey, I need help thinking about content ideas. Here's my themes. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. Here's my keywords. Give me some ideas, and it's great. But then go test them. Just go look at them and verify them.
Perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Excellent. I want to get through some of these questions on the chat. Really interesting one here from Will. Any recommendations for individual artists? This appears to be more focused on small businesses. Yeah, absolutely. So what about artists?
So again, artists, again, it's the same again. Like you still, like, okay, what's the context? What's my problem? And, like, what's the problem? The customer's not my problem. What's the customer's problem? What are they looking for? Well, the problem might be, I'm looking for unique art. Well, where can I find that unique art? But again, we need to tell the story and leading into that element. So when we see more personalized elements and around the personal pieces, we're seeing a lot of the things around personal branding pieces around Instagram is usually the sort of the place to go. But again, it all comes back to, if you're talking to an older audience, like you're doing art, and it's my mother-in-law who's in her 70s, she's not going to Instagram to get that information. So there is all this other thing too that we also need to be considering, is that social media is a great tool for us to create that content and to drive some of this element to educate and inspire. But we also can use outbound media and outbound elements to drive those pieces too. So we don't want to get too focused and sometimes on all inbound media, which we consider social media elements. We can also look at other pieces. But when it comes to that element, we've seen lots of success, and Instagram has been a great place for those things because you're able to show those elements and tell the story elements in there. You probably want a little bit of it, depending if you're community centric. So if you're a local artist and you're trying to tap into the local community, you probably want to use Facebook. Because Facebook's a great way to share some of the stories and connections around those things. Those would be kind of ones that I would lean towards. But again, it all comes down to who is the audience, what age is that audience, and how they're interacting. But yeah, both those platforms could work.
Amazing. Great, Dave. Thank you. We have a question here from Eduardo. How often should I be posting on Instagram stories to keep my engagement rates high? I'm helping a culinary school with marketing, and I noticed that their students remember the brand more when we're active on stories in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah, so it's really important again, and we're talking about these stories and the interaction. Again, at minimum, you're doing 2 to 3 posts a week if you can, as minimum. More is definitely a little bit better, of course, that if you have the time and effort to be able to build those things. But again, storytelling comes back to the same thing. Go back to the reels, go back to these elements. Like, what is the story you're trying to take? How does that connect back to the value that you're trying to share as a business? An idea, what problem you're trying to solve, and those connections, because that'll really resonate with that content, and they'll be able to, so behind the scenes things like that would resonate well. I hope I've answered that question.
I want to see some of these behind the scenes. I think
Yeah.
Origins Chocolate should do behind the scenes so I can see what's happening and some of our local.
Yeah, and it's really important to do it behind the scenes, because then they actually you're opening yourself up. You're being transparent, and that transparency, guess what it builds? Trust. All of a sudden, oh my God, I'm engaged with you. I see, I know I'm part of your community. I feel like I'm part of the process. And if you
And
can
it's
bring them into the
community
process
building,
too,
right?
it's
It's
like,
community
yeah,
building as
it's
well. It's
community building
beautiful.
and it's engagement. It's like storytelling, but it's fun storytelling that they can actually see and interact with.
Love it. I think we're going to do a really quick answer, if we can, to the last question, just in appreciation of everyone's time. It's 12:31, so it's hard to be consistent on this. What is the simplest and easiest way to start to be consistent?
Well, again, comes back to the same thing. Understand the problem, like going back to that same statement at the very beginning I was talking about, is understand the problem that out there. If we understand the problem that customers are wrestling with and the jobs they're trying to get done, then we can understand where and who those customers are. Then we can understand the value creation of what that looks like. And then then it's identifying those themes. Like as I said, narrow and focus. Like who are the themes? Maybe 2 themes to start, and then build those content. And again, it is a test element. Like you can narrow and you can focus it. You can use AI tools. You can do all these things. But again, the only way you're actually going to learn if your customer is going to engage with you is that you need to start testing some of these things. So you need to throw it out, try it out, see what happens, and see what the interaction is. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's not a bad thing. It just means that we need to go back to the drawing table and say, okay, we're not really giving customers what they want. Remember, customers are intent. They're intent to do something, either answer a question, solve a problem, looking for entertainment. Like we have to resonate with them in the space they're in and what platform you're on. I don't know if that answers your question.
Amazing. Dave, what a wealth of information, expertise. I want to join your course. I want to hear from you more. I really appreciate you sharing this with the New Westminster Chamber of Commerce today and our wonderful business community. Thank you. I will let you go to have your lunch, have a drink, have a coffee, and we look forward to keeping in touch with you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And please, people, link in with me. Happy to answer further questions. And of course, yeah, and if I'll send Heidi the presentation with QR code if anybody wants more information on those other resources we can provide.
We will send that out to all of our wonderful attendees. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today again for part of our business webinar series. Stay tuned for our next event coming up on the 20th of February. That's our future of current and future workforce in New Westminster. Please make sure you visit our website for the upcoming events listing. We have our Business Excellence Awards coming up in April this year, so we're very excited about a huge engagement opportunities with the New West Chamber. And you can reach out at info@newwestchamber.com if you'd like to connect with the office today. Thank you very much, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks again, Dave.